Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Thank you guys for coming back today. It is our daily MaM reading. We're about to start part 22 of the CASO Investigative Reports, pages 211 through 220. Page 211, Type of Activity Supplemental Report. Date of activity 11/10/05, Reporting Officer Deputy Rick Reamer. On Thursday, 11/10/05, I, Deputy Rick Reamer, Unit 832 of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was assigned to assist Special Agent Rod Pibito of the Department of Criminal Investigations and Special Agent Tom Sturdivant of the Department of Criminal Investigations. My duties consisted of collecting evidence that was sifted from a burned material on a brown tarp. I did observe the special agent sorting through the remnants of the burnt material on the tarp. They did turn over to me various items. I did receive various bone fragments and tissue samples from the burnt contents. These were turned over to me from Special Agent Sturdivant and Special Agent Pibito. This evidence was in my custody throughout the day. The evidence was also transported with me to the scene, whereupon Special Agent Pibito and Special Agent Sturdivant began to look over a dirt mound south of the red garage. The mound had previously had a German Shepherd dog situated atop of it. On 11/10/05 at 16:51 hours, I received a bag containing dog stool, which was turned over to me by Special Agent Sturdivant. It was tagged with property tag 7937. Special Agent Sturdivant left me a note stating that Deputy Mike Polish of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department had turned over the dog stool to Detective Brian W. Swetlick of the Manitowoc Police Department at 13:50 hours, who in turn turned over the item to Special Agent Sturdivant. I was also assisted by Special Agent Ron Ebbett and Special Agent Jim Siler of the Department of Criminal Investigation. They sorted through a fire pit near a mound, which was to the south of the red garage on the Avery property. There were various items that were turned over to me. These items were then turned over to Special Agent Jim Holmes of the Department of Criminal Investigations for transport to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. None of the evidence collected on 11/10/05 was turned into the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Rather, it was turned over to Special Agent Holmes. Deputy Rick Reamer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 212. Type of activity, return of warrant for Avery's Auto Salvage. Date of activity 11/10/05. Reporting officer, Investigator John Dietering. Documents generated, copy of return of warrant. On 11/10/05 at 14:22 hours, I, Dietering, did file a return of warrant along with a copy of original warrant for the Avery's Auto Salvage and other buildings with the Manitowoc County Clerk of Courts. It should be noted I did refer to the 1999 Toyota RAV4 as a 1994 RAV4. I had faxed over a copy of our affidavit of return prior to noticing my mistake. I did send over an original at a later time with the correction indicated. Investigator John Dietering, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 213. Type of activity, interview of Lori A. Dassey. Date of activity 11/10/05. Reporting officer, Investigator Wendy Baldwin. Citizen contact Lori A. Dassey. Date of birth 10/20/61. On 11/10/05 at approximately 15:23 hours, I, Investigator Wendy Baldwin of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Special Agent Lisa Wilson, made contact with a Lori A. Dassey at a residence. I asked Lori to discuss her past and marriage with Steven Avery. Lori said that prior to and when they had just gotten married, Steven had an obsession and was stalking one of his ex-girlfriends by the name of Wendy Patter. Lori said he would follow her wherever she went and was obsessed with a vehicle that she had junked in their yard. He said there was another female by the name of Annie Weber that he was also infatuated with and would obsess over her. Lori said they got married in July of 1982 at the Manitowoc County Courthouse. Lori thought that Steven was a rather nice guy until they got married. After they married, they moved to the address on Old County Y, and from there it was very rocky with a lot of domestics and physical and verbal abuse. Lori said their oldest daughter, Rachel, was born in March of the next year. She described the relationship as being very physical and violent, consisting of choking, hitting, and punching. Lori said in the verbal abuse situations, he would tell her that if she ever left him, he would kill her, her children, and her family, and nobody would want her anymore. She said he was always with her and would never let her go anywhere without him. She said if she would leave and she would be home alone, he would take the phone with him so that she could not call anybody. Lori said while she was on the phone with her sister, she looked out the window and saw a cat running around the yard on fire. Lori said Steven had several of his friends with him, and they were laughing about it and thought it was a big joke. Lori said at that time her sister had called the police, which she said was better for her because she probably would have had to suffer consequences if she had been the one to call the police. Lori thought the entire family was strange, and Steven could be capable of this crime. Lori said Steven was also a man that would never take no for an answer. Page 214. Lori stated he would be very persuasive with her for sex. However, she said he never forced her to have sex. Lori said she feels she would not be here if Steven didn't go to prison. Lori said she would never fight back in the arguments they had, and he was very verbally degrading and threatening to her. Lori said he always gets what he wants and is very violent when he is angry. She did say in 1 year they went through 12 vehicles because he would blow up the engine or smash the vehicle. Lori said he would damage furniture and cars, and one never knew what would set him off. Lori stated he never attended any anger classes in prison as he refused to do that. Lori stated he made her help out in the yard with the cars while she was pregnant with her twins. Lori remembers one incident while she was driving a vehicle when he had gotten mad at her and smashed the windshield because she wasn't steering right. Lori also recalled an incident with her oldest son, Jason, who was not Steven's biological son. Lori said she started working outside of the home, and if she wasn't there for her children, he would start acting out on them. Lori stated one evening when she came home, Jason had 2 front teeth missing, and Steven said he ran into one of the 2x4s in the house while they were remodeling. Lori, however, found out several years later that Steven had slugged Jason in the mouth for smarting off. Lori said her oldest daughter, Rachel, was 6 months old already when he got out of jail, so there was never a very close connection. Lori said Rachel was a very happy baby until Steven would enter the room and she would begin to cry and be very upset. Lori said he was stricter with her as far as punishment than with his other daughter, Jennifer, who was born shortly after he got out of jail. Lori said in approximately February of 1988, she had divorced Steven. Lori said after the divorce, he would send threatening letters in the mail, threatening to kill her and her family. He would also send letters in the mail threatening her life addressed to her 2-year-old children. Lori said the court did order that she had to take her twin boys to see him in prison. However, he would send letters with them to give to her, threatening to hurt or kill her. Lori did say a court order was denied and that she no longer had to take them to the prison to visit him. Lori said she and her husband feared Steven when he got out of prison. Lori stated they locked everything up and were very cautious after he got out of prison. Lori states she does still see him from time to time, driving by her house to check up on her. Lori said the last time they were out there was in September on Labor Day weekend. and nothing at that time seemed to be out of the ordinary or not normal. Page 215. I asked Lori if she could describe the other two brothers and their personalities, traits, hobbies, and other things they liked to do. Lori said Chuck was a lot like Steven, very abusive with women, and would beat his ex-wife Donna. She said, when you first meet Chuck, he seems very calm. However, he also had a bad temper. She has also seen Chuck rip off refrigerator doors and furniture. Lori describes Chuck as walking on eggshells and never knowing what would set him off. Lori said he would stand up for his brothers, and you never want to cross that family. Lori stated Chuck had also made sexual advances toward her while she was pregnant. Lori did state she felt Chuck and Steven were closer because they worked together in the yard quite a bit. Lori feels perhaps lately he is learning to control his anger through the divorces he has had and some of the counseling. Lori describes Earl as being mild-mannered and willing to help others. She said she never had any problems with Earl. However, he was in his teens when she left Steven. Lori said when Steven was locked up in jail, Earl helped her out quite a bit. Lori said one of them could be capable of doing something like this, and she felt a body could have been dumped somewhere or taken up north. Lori did say all the boys in that family had a hard time taking no for an answer, and that they were very street smart. Lori described Dolores as also being abused and beaten by her husband, Alan. She said that she would support, protect, and stick up for her kids no matter what. Lori also said Dolores would never step in the middle of a fight when one of the boys would be beating up a wife or girlfriend. Lori said that would be Alan's place to keep the peace with the boys. Lori also said Alan was a big drinker as well as the rest of the boys. Lori said they had a tapper in the garage with a keg inside, and all the kids, except for maybe Earl, did do drugs. Lori said Barbara was very protective of her brothers as well. Lori doesn't think she would have anything to do with it, but she would cover everything up or be a person to drive the car away. Lori stated she does recall Steven and Ellen beating her up and dragging her around by the hair. Lori said she has strong suspicions about possibly Charles or Steven being involved with this. The interview was concluded at approximately 17:03 hours. Wendy Baldwin, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 216. Type of activity supplemental report. Date of activity 11/10/05. Reporting officer investigator Wendy Baldwin. After leaving Lori's residence, I, investigator Wendy Baldwin of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was able to make phone contact with Brian J. Dassey, date of birth 07/15/85, who agreed to drive to the Aurora Medical Center for the completion of the search warrant to obtain his DNA samples along with his finger and palm prints. Brian did meet us at the Aurora Medical Center, and those items were taken by the RN sane nurse on duty, Faye L. Frisch. Special Agent Lisa Wilson conducted the interview as well as advised him of his Miranda rights and provided a copy of the search warrant. See her report for details on the interview. After the DNA collection was completed, it was turned over to Special Agent Lisa Wilson. Brian did follow Special Agent Lisa Wilson and I to the Two Rivers Police Department, where Brian was fingerprinted. Those fingerprints were also turned over to Special Agent Lisa Wilson, who took them into custody. Special Agent Lisa Wilson later turned the DNA and prints over to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. Wendy Baldwin, investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 217. Type of activity collection of Teresa Halbach's personal items at W3637 County Highway B. Date of activity 11/10/05. Reporting officer investigator Gary Steyer. On Thursday 11/10/05 at approximately 4:55 p.m., Investigator Gary Steyer of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department did collect personal items of Teresa Halbach from W3637 County Highway B, Hilbert, Wisconsin. The purpose of collecting items was for fingerprint or DNA analysis. Investigator Steyer was also informed to look for cellular phone boxes because Teresa Halbach had recently switched cellular phones. The following is a list of items located at W3637 County Highway B, which Investigator Steyer believes to be Teresa Halbach's exclusive possessions. Property tag number 7802, items number 1 and 2, one singular box and one Motorola phone, located in a filing cabinet in the dining room of the residence, collected at 4:55 p.m. Property tag number 7810, item number 3, one saline solution bottle, located in a bathroom of the residence, collected at 5 o'clock p.m. Property tag number 7811, item number 4, one makeup foundation base located in the bathroom by Investigator Steyer, collected at 5:03 p.m. Property tag number 7812, item number 5, one container of toothpaste located in the bathroom by Investigator Steyer, collected at 5:04 p.m. Property tag number 7813, item number 6, a bottle with eyedropper containing a prescription for Teresa Halbach, located in the bathroom by Investigator Steyer, collected at 5:05 p.m. Property tag number 7814, item number 7, one phone bill and one phone instruction booklet, located in the back filing cabinet in an upstairs bedroom by Investigator Steyer, collected at 5:19 p.m. Said evidence was kept in Investigator Steyer's exclusive possession until such time as it was inventoried, marked, and sealed in evidence collection bags and turned over to Investigator John Dietering, Investigator Gary Steyer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 218. Type of activity: assist with gathering items from Teresa Halbach's residence. Date of activity: 11/10/05. Reporting officer Investigator John Dietering. Documents generated: none. On Thursday, 11/10/05, at approximately 1700 hours, I. Dietering did assist Investigator Steyer with removal of some identifying items that would possibly contain DNA from the apartment of Teresa Halbach. Please see Investigator Steyer's detailed report for these items. At 1925 hours, I did transfer the evidence gathered by Investigator Steyer to the DCI Special Agent James Holmes. This transfer took place on County Highway B, just east of County Highway BB. Holmes apparently transported these items to the crime lab for processing. Investigation continues. Investigator John Dietering, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 219. Type of activity: supplemental report. Date of activity: 11/10/05. Reporting officer Sergeant Bill Tyson. On Thursday, 11/10/05, I, Sergeant Bill Tyson, of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was at the command post at the crime scene on the Avery property when I was informed several Wisconsin State Patrol officers found what appeared to them to be a charred human foot in the quarry south of Avery Road. DCI Special Agent Ron Eben was with me, and he stated he would come with me since he did have some expertise in arson and identifying bones. Upon walking north on Avery Road, a State Patrol officer did direct our attention south to the quarry. Upon walking down the embankment towards the quarry, I did notice 2 State Patrol officers standing by a small area of standing water. The State Patrol officers indicated they found what they believed to be a human vertebrae in the water. Special Agent Ron Evans stated he would stand by at the possible human vertebrae while I continued to the area where the State Patrol officers were possibly found a charred human foot. Continuing north through the quarry, I did locate a group of State Patrol officers standing around an object. Upon making contact with them, they informed me they found something that resembled a human foot that was charred. Upon looking at the item, I could not distinguish if this indeed was or was not a charred human foot. Special Agent Fassbender, Investigator Weger, and Sheriff Pogel arrived with Medical Examiner Michael Glazer. Medical Examiner Glazer looked at the object and stated he did not believe it to be that of a human foot. Correctional Officer Todd Conan arrived on scene and stated he would stand by the object while I went to get a camera and evidence bags. Special Agent Ron Evan directed my attention back to his location, and he did show me a rag with brownish red-colored stain on it. Upon walking away from that object, I did locate what appeared to be fresh blood in the gravel. Medical Examiner Glazer did arrive at my location and did confirm that he did believe it also to be blood. I informed Medical Examiner Glazer I had some concerns due to the fact we had had a substantial amount of rain within the past couple of days, and it felt very odd that this could possibly be blood from the case we were working on. Medical Examiner Glazer agreed, although I did wish to collect the blood for evidentiary purposes. I did photograph the area of blood and did apply 2 drops of distilled water to a sterilized cotton swab and did swab the blood stain. That stain was collected at 17:16 hours. At 17:18 hours, I did a control swab of the gravel in the vicinity of the possible blood. Page 220. I went back to Special Agent Evans' location and did photograph the rag that had the brownish red stains on it. The item was collected at 17:24 hours. Special Agent Evan and I went back to the Correctional Officer Conan's location and did photograph the charred object. That item was collected at 17:43 hours. All items were placed in my squad car and transported back to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. In the evidence room, I did open up the bag that had the possible charred human foot to find the item had flipped over, and it appeared to be a piece of burnt insulation. All items were placed into the secured evidence room. Sergeant Bill Tyson, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Okay, let's go ahead and do our review of these 10 pages, and we'll start with 211. And I thought it's interesting. We have 11-1005, and it is Deputy Rick Reamer. And he says his duties consist of collecting evidence that was sifted from burned material on a brown tarp. Where are they? Isn't that part of what they need to know? And then he says they did turn over to me various items. I did receive various bone fragments and tissue samples from the burnt content. This evidence was in my custody throughout the day. Let's get a little highlighter right here. They are not at Avery's property when they're doing this. Okay, the evidence was also transported with me to the scene, whereupon Special Agent Pivito and Special Agent Sturvant began to look over a dirt mound south of the red garage. So this first part where they say that they found bone fragments and tissue samples, and they're doing this on a burnt material on a tarp, is not at Avery's. And we are looking at the 10th. I haven't heard that we have found bone fragments before this. The evidence was also transported with me to the scene. So they're talking about going over to the red garage. So he's transported it to here. So it's not from Avery's. And he turns it over to Special Agent Holmes. Page 212, I thought it was kind of interesting because I've never noticed that they've ever corrected anything, all the errors that they have. But Dietering's Scott himself, he has referred to the 1999 Toyota RAV4 as a 1994, and he then later corrected it. So just for the record, 213. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Lori Dassey, and I know it's quite a bit of this segment. However, this is Steven's ex-wife, and we've all had moments where we've got an ex in our life, probably, I would imagine. I don't think anybody talks real nice about their ex. And I know that I've heard my ex's words, and he's told some fabulous stories, as well as I've even stretched the truth when I was young about what my exes would do. And so I don't know how reliable the source is. She does talk about he's stalking one of his ex-girlfriends by the name of Wendy Patter and also a female by Annie Weber. In both of them, she states that he was infatuated and would obsess over them. Well, if he was a killer and he's obsessed, infatuated, what would have stopped him from harming them or killing those two girls? So Lori went on to describe the relationship as being physical, violent, choking, hitting, and punching. That she said in the verbal abusive situations that he would tell her that if she ever left him, he would kill her, her children, her family, and nobody would want her anyway. But yet, when he got out in 2003, did he do that? No. No, he did not. In 2014, good gracious, page 214, Lori was talking about he would be very persuasive with her for sex. However, she said he never forced her to have sex. That's a normal husband thing. I'm sorry, dear. 215, she stated Chuck had also made sexual advances toward her while she was pregnant. And then she said any one of them could be capable of doing something like this. She felt the body could have been dumped somewhere or taken up north. She did say all the boys in the family had a hard time taking no for an answer and that they were very street smart. Lori also talked about Alan being a big drinker as well as the rest of the boys. That they had a tapper in their garage with a keg inside and all. The kids, except for maybe Earl, did do drugs. Now, we're getting two different stories here. When you listen to Jody's story, she said nobody there drank but her, and she's on site. And yet, Lori doesn't live there, and she's stating that they're big drinkers and that they do drugs. Lori has strong suspicions about possibly Charles or Stephen being involved with this. So I jumped ahead to page 217, and we're actually at Teresa's home residence, and they're collecting things for fingerprint or DNA analysis. And you guys, there's got to be fingerprints at her house. But they collect a singular box, which is a phone box, and a Motorola phone. One saline solution bottle, one makeup foundation base, one container of toothpaste, and a bottle with eyedropper containing a prescription. I do wonder about this saline solution bottle. They don't go into any definition as to why they would take that. If it's a saline solution for contacts, Teresa doesn't wear any contacts, and she didn't wear glasses for the purpose of driving or anything like that. The only kind of glasses Teresa would have worn would have been possibly reading glasses, which you wouldn't wear contacts for that. So I don't understand the saline solution. And let's look at her driver's license. That's a good way to tell if a person is required to wear glasses or wears glasses. So this is Teresa Halbach's driver's license, and it states here her birth date and also her name. And I was looking at this and I was thinking about the restrictions, and it says none. And she wears no glasses in the pictures either. So I don't understand why they're reporting saline solution unless it's just normal eye drops. But why would they take that into evidence? So I've jumped ahead to 218, and I just wanted to make a note that Dietering reports that he gave all this evidence over to Holmes, who apparently transported these items to the crime lab for processing. And then on 219, they are at a crime scene on the Avery property when I was informed that the Wisconsin State Patrol had found what appeared to be a human foot in the quarry. So the State Patrol officers find something that looks like a human vertebrae in the water. They find something that looks like a human foot that's charred. And they even go as far as to get a medical examiner, which happens to be the same medical examiner that signed off on Teresa Halbach's death certificate. And then they do find fresh blood in the gravel. And the medical examiner, Glazer, did arrive and look at it and also did believe it was blood. And they talked about the substantial rain they had had in the past couple of days and that the blood looked like it shouldn't have been there because it was fresh. And then on the last page, he talks about the photograph of the rag as well as the photographs that he took of all this other stuff, but we don't see these other photos. And I think that we should be able to see them. And it did appear to be the foot appeared to be a piece of burnt insulation. Interesting. Well, that was definitely an interesting read. In that we learned that they're finding different parts of evidence that contain bone and tissue, and they're not finding them at Avery's. They're finding them elsewhere, and they're right in their reports. They're bringing them to the Avery property. That is frustrating. That should not even happen. You run such high risk of contamination doing this. It's not protocol. And the other part is, when you look at the situation, they have found what looks to be a charred foot. He's claiming it's insulation. They are saying they found tissue. They're saying they found blood in the quarry, that they found a brownish reddish stain on this rag, and that they're photographing it all. Where are the photographs, you guys? We should be able to see those. All right, let's move ahead. So, just frustrating as always, you know. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your support. I know that it seems like these are very frustrating reads at times, but as we go further, it's not going to get any easier. It just gets more confusing. I did share with you today Teresa's driver's license, and that was done by some friends of ours from the Avery team. They have I guess you call it a chat group on the Discord channel, and one of their members FOIA'd the document and was kind enough to share it with us. So thank you to them for doing that. And we will be adding this and much more to the library as we, Many MaM's on a roll, so we'll be working on the library very soon and adding the wing to that. And that will contain the who's who, including Denny suspects. And it will be more on the individuals that are not I can't even talk. Well, let's call it good. It's getting late at night here for me. If you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. Again, thank you guys very much for staying with me and sharing all the love that you do, supporting Brendan and Steven. It means the world to me. Keep them in the light and keep them safe.